Question two, after we've, looked at all their strategy, what are they doing? What are they not doing? Are they segmenting? Are they making sales? All of those kind of things. Then we start looking at, what factors do we consider are high leverage opportunities in email marketing? Well, I always try and boil it down to this, which is maximize what is working. So we have a lot of folks come to us and they ask us to fix the part of their business that has never worked. And our recommendation always is, well, let's find all the things that are working really well in your business and maximize the heck out of them. So for instance, we can go around picking up bars of gold, or we can go around trying to fix these rusty cars that will never run again. And a great strategy is if you're making, say, $100,000 selling a certain type of product every month, well, let's find a way to make that $200,000 every month. And then you actually have the profit to afford to go and try and fix some of these rusty cars. But we always want to make sure that we're just picking up the easy gold first and all the low-hanging fruit and maximizing what's already working before going after the things that have never worked. Okay, so a really great strategy of doing this is we just kind of go through and we find out from our clients, like, hey, what are your biggest sellers? What are your most profitable products? What types of products do people buy? So if they buy, your top seller, what are other things that they buy? And what we're trying to figure out is what is the best buying sequence for people? And then we try and build it into email. So we automate it, we recommend similar products, so on and so forth. And a way to do that with your business, and it kind of depends on where you're at. So if you're just starting, a lot of these things may be assumptions. But the moment you have something that does work, try and find a way of continuing to do that until you find the next thing that works, and then keep continuing to do that as well. So if you've been in business for a little while, some of the just kind of a list that I put down here that you can look at is what email campaigns have worked in the past. Well, if you have email campaigns that have worked in the past, let's automate them so every new person who comes to your business gets those same email campaigns. And then what's your customer behavior? We had a client where their customers started making their own Facebook groups to trade product. Well, instead of having customers control that, you can create a Facebook group and you can create email campaigns to drive people to that Facebook group. And now you can help facilitate what customers are already doing naturally. If you have cold outreach, do you have good sales pitches? Do you have good analogies? Your lead sources, social media, video content, audio content, written content, product descriptions. Anytime you see a spike of success, try and figure out what was successful about that. And then you want to use email to do more of it. And the benefit of email is once you build it once and you automate it, it can keep running for all new people coming into your business. So it doesn't always have to be you manually creating an email every time, segmenting and sending it out. Once you find something that works, you can automate it and make sure everyone gets it. All right, so just really quickly, this is kind of like the basics of how a automated email works. So there's a trigger, so there's a behavior that someone has or some factor about them that triggers this automation. Then you have a sequence of time delays, and then you send messages. And I only kind of put 3 here, but you'd have a time delay, a message, a time delay, a message, a time delay, a message. And then at the bottom here, you have filters. So eventually someone may take another action. So we want to remove them from this automation and move them to another one. But this is kind of the basics in almost every email platform. So whether it's MailChimp, whether it's Klaviyo, whether it's ActiveCampaign, all of these tools have this type of framework, which is something someone does or doesn't do. Then there's a delay, and then they get a message or a series of messages. And then once they take a certain action, they get removed from that, and you can move them to another one. So just an example of this, because you don't want people getting too many emails all at once. So in e-commerce, people can look at a product on a website, and then they can add it to their cart, and then they can check out. So we actually have 3 different flows here or automations that follow up with people to move them towards the purchase. So let's say they browse a product and then they don't do anything. Well, we can start sending them these browse abandonment emails to get them to look at it again. And then at some point, they may add it to cart. So we will stop sending them the browse and we will start sending them the cart abandon emails until they start checkout. And then if they don't complete their order, we'll keep following up with checkout emails until they make the purchase. So you can see this is a very good way of what state of purchase are they in, and you can keep moving them to higher and higher flows and move them closer and closer to a purchase. So the basic way of looking at this is the objective of every email sequence is to move people to a desired action. And a good little framework for how you build these emails is you can start out by building a relationship. So talking about your company, your values, and things like that. And then you can work towards benefits and trust. So what are, reviews and case studies and testimonials are a good way to build trust. And then benefits are what the customer actually gets out of your product. And I'm sure, if you've been through any marketing course, they talk about features, benefits. Well, you want to make sure you're talking about the benefits, not just the features. And then finally, at the end, there are some of those people who, have built a good relationship with you, do have trust, they do see the benefit in buying your product, but they just kind of need a little nudge off of the fence. So that's where you can bring the FOMO in. So in other words, if you buy for a limited time, you get this bonus, or you can discount and things like that. We don't usually, recommend discounting if there are other ways to close the deal first, but there's a whole bunch of ways to add scarcity and add benefits for customers taking an action. So once they take an action, usually a sale, then you can move them into the next sequence to move them towards the next sale. Okay. So the main thing that I would leave you with is whenever we're looking for opportunity and leverage, we follow the money. We don't follow our ego. And what I mean by that is a lot of times you think there's a way that someone should buy your product, or you think there's a way that people should want to use your product. But if people use your product for something completely different, follow the money. Because when people tell you they want something, that doesn't mean nearly as much as where they're spending their money. So like the short story always is, I believe it was, Airbnb was a completely different business than it was and what it is now. So they were willing to pivot. So same thing here. If, the money and the customer interest and all those kind of things are in one place, keep helping do more of that instead of, standing staunchly and trying to get the business working the way that it doesn't want to work. So in other words, pick up the gold, don't try and fix the rusty car.
Well,